guys, what is going on? Red Match here, and welcome back to the episode of Cards and Castles, Cards.tv commentary. Got some fun matches lined up for you guys. You might notice that this could potentially be pre-recorded. Wearing the same shirt as the last one, so that's a good indication right there. In case, who knows. Just felt like doing two in one session, right? Can't go wrong with that. So, with that being said, guys, let's get into the Cards TV matches and see what kind of interesting, fun player versus player action we can find on the ladder today. And our first match will be chaddyshack taking on Grazzit. Of course, Chatty rocking the Warlock Crusader, while Grazzit rocks the Crusader Pirate. And Grazzit starts off his turn one by coining out a Merchant's Estate. Interesting way to consistently gold gain ahead of your opponent. Excuse me for that little thing there. But Chatty defective flame cannons it, doesn't want to deal with it at all, which opens Grazzit up to a Forbidden City draw. Of course, getting some hand advantage early is a nice thing to do. Chatty responds with a Tarius Files. Of course, unfortunately, he can't do anything following up with that defective flame cannon, so the Files is the best option. But Grazzit plays the Dragon Sword. Interesting choice. He'll have 7 gold on his next turn, and Chatty takes its opening to play a Flux Stabs. You know what? I gotta call it Flux. And Grazzit responds with that 7 gold, turning it into, a Genevieve. Quite interesting there. It's going to be tough for Chatty to deal with that directly, but he throws out a Pegacorn, but moves him and the Flux away from that Genevieve. Grazzit takes the opportunity to play Dwarven Scope, as well as an additional Merchant's Estate. He'll get some free castle damage off on Chatty, of course, with that opening given to him by the Flux. Chatty, though, responds like Dragon's Fire, weakening the Genevieve, and of course, using the Pegacorn and Flux to simultaneously take it out, meanwhile getting Dwarven's Greed and Holy Bulwark as a result of Flux's combo. Grazzit, of course, with 7 gold now, he'll come out with a Dread Pirate Robins, shooting down that Pegacorn and getting 5 additional gold into his hand, which brings out, a Southport Captain, giving his ramp a 7 gold advantage next turn. He'll use a Forbidden City with his remaining gold, draw 3 additional cards, discards 1. We don't know what that card is. Maybe it was a good one, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But Chatty responds by opening a blue firebolt onto that Southport Captain, doesn't want to deal with it, and summons a Barbarian, one of the only units in his hand, actually, by the looks of it. So if Grazzit can take out this unit this turn, he might have a big advantage over Chatty in the next turn. He summons a Velaroth the Devourer, as well as a Swordsman, so he can't, unfortunately, kill the Barbarian, but he does have a pretty hefty advantage over him. And that Tyrannosaur, though, from Chatty as a draw will help him out quite a bit there. Shadow Katana on the Barbarian, interesting choice, as the Swordsman, gets pushed away as a result of T-Rex's Fear Aura. Grazzit plays a School of Knowledge in response, so he's going to set himself up for some extra draw later down the road. Use the Velaroth to trade with the T-Rex, and summons a Con Artist to back up Swordsman, and of course provide further gold for that School of Knowledge. Chatty, however, uses a Grotesque and Salahar combo to weaken the Con Artist, plus get 2 additional draw, which I think he needs at this point, and plays the Unholy Altar and a minor upgrade and Dwarven Greed to close out his turn, creating an 8/8 Barbarian in the way of Grazzit. Of course, though, Grazzit's getting 11 gold plus 2 additional cards. He'll use a Dagger Storm to weaken that Barbarian by 3 health for Chatty's turn, plus an additional Dragon Sword. He'll gain a card from the Con Artist's gold gain, of course, thanks to School of Knowledge. I'm blanking on a couple of these abilities. Everything's happening so fast. But Chatty Grotesque offers a zombie, the fresh zombie out of the altar, which brings him 2 Vicious Sunflowers into his hand. Use the opportunity to trade with the Velaroth, of course knowing that his Barbarian is dead next turn. And summons not only a T-Rex, but one of those Vicious Sunflowers as well. Interesting how he's not using the Holy Bulwark. He could have easily used it there, but I think he's waiting for sudden death or maybe some sort of Arbiter's Return. Grazzit, of course, does another Dagger Storm and summons a Dremoth. Looks like both of Chatty's guys were are bleeding out. Sunflower taking 2, T-Rex taking 1. Sunflower trying to get in a position where he can do some damage. But of course, Chatty's going to Holy Bulwark, actually. His units all over the place here. T-Rex Fear Aura pushes the Sunflower, the newly summoned one. And of course, Chatty's starting to get some momentum back. How can Grazzit respond to this? He'll use a Merchant's Favor to bring him up to 12 gold. Summons a Lumberjack with that extra gold. Hits the Sunflower, of course. Sunflower can only take 1 damage. Luminaris from the swordsman, though, will take out the Taurus Files, weaken T-Rex, kill one of those sunflowers, and of course allow Chatty to draw 2 cards off the damaged Taurus Files. But Dremoth opens up with a 9 strike on the castle. Very big turn for Grazzit right there, as he's basically set the game here. If Chatty can't heal up his castle at this point, it's going to be game over for him. He'll Dragon's Fire at a discounted price. T-Rex trades with Dremoth. Banshee, of course, hitting the swordsman to try to finish it off. He'll get a Mystic Journey. I think he was hoping for a heal there. And, of course, move all of his units to further put pressure on Grazzit, knowing that he might be at a weaker state here. Although, can Grazzit end it right now? He can easily do that with an Arbiter's Return. All you gotta do is hit that zombie with the Con Artist. The Con Artist does trade there. Will a Arbiter's Return happen? It will, so that's unfortunately going to close the game for Chatty, but great match by both of them, I would say. A very well done effort by Grazzit. I think he's running actually a Greed Knight variant, so that's why he's running that those Luminaris. It's very deadly, actually, if you guys don't see them coming. 4 damage is not something to laugh at, especially when it's doing that wide range that Luminaris is. I think Chatty probably did need a heal there, I think, to save himself. That Dremoth hit on his castle was huge. It basically shifted the game into Grazzit's favor, and that was sort of like the sign that it was going to end there. But again, great match by those two, and a great way to start off this episode of Cards TV Commentary. Next match will feature Loki 17 taking on Osiris, and Loki, of course, wasting no time in his opening hand, throws out that Lumberjack for some cycle power, and so does Osiris actually, so of course, the standard Lumberjack play. Nothing surprising there. Of course, both of them kill each other to draw additional cards for themselves, and of course, Loki's not able to do much on his turn too. Osiris doesn't really do much either except play a Dwarven's Greed to give him an additional gold next turn. Loki uses this opening to summon a Cleric onto the field. If he can get that Cleric buffed, it could be deadly, but Osiris is going to use this opportunity to summon a Headless Horseman to weaken the Cleric down to a 1/1. Ijitsu currently going on Loki's castle. Osiris doesn't know that, but we do, so let's see if Osiris takes the bait and hits the Headless. Hits the Cleric. He won't. He'll incinerate the Cleric, actually, and push up a Dwarven Miner to put Loki in a troubling position. Of course, a second Cleric will open up in defense of Loki. Osiris, though, casting a Flame Shield onto his Headless, but that falls him into the Ijitsu trap, which leads Cleric to first strike kill it without any sort of problem. Flame Shield on the Dwarven Miner to follow up, plus a Salahar Rider, and it looks like Osiris is trying to get some presence back, but that, unfortunately, that Ijitsu, big card, and the second one being played. If you guys watched my discussion video, the most recent one, of course, you'll know what I'm talking about when I tell you that Ijitsu, very dangerous card, and one of the most powerful cards in the game currently. That's just my belief, though. Of course, a lot of moves there happened. We saw Major Presence and Armory from Osiris. I didn't really commentate that, but hopefully that's alright. Loki, of course, Luminaris is actually everything on the board currently, which is going to lead the Salahar Spitefish to weaken Knight of Flowers, but Knight of Flowers is going to trade with the Miner for an effective board clear. Osiris, forcing to respond, pulls out a Vicious Sunflower. I'm not sure if that's going to help him all that much, but of course, Loki hits with the Cleric to bring him down to a 2/4 and then a 2/5, and of course Loki's healing combo brings him back up to full health, and meanwhile, additional traps going on Loki's castle. We saw Camouflage being placed down, of course, Osiris is going to activate that trap. It's going to be the Ijitsu trap, which will of course lead Cleric to hit face, and unfortunately that's going to be the game for Osiris, and Loki actually takes it out from under Osiris using traps. Now, I did mention that trap decks weren't really all that popular nowadays, but again, I didn't say they were dead. We saw people, there are still people still running them, and obviously Loki is a prime example of trap decks still in use, and playing them correctly, baiting your opponent out into activating them as that game showed, can really shift the tides. We saw that Loki was down pretty much the early portions of that game, but was able to, come back, thanks to cards like Ijitsu. Those first strike hits, absolutely devastating. +4 attack. I don't think that card should have +4. I feel like personally a +2 would be fine for the card. But of course that's just my opinion. And a great showing from Loki as well as Osiris. Unfortunately, Osiris didn't pick up the win, but that's quite alright. I would say again a great match and one that he should not be ashamed of. And for our final match here, this is actually interesting. I just want to show you guys before I actually started the matchup here. It's going to be GWI facing HooHaa, and if GWI wins this, he actually makes it to 3K stars. So, that's going to be quite the interesting development. Let's see here if GWI can pick up the win against HooHaa and earn himself a 3K position before the end of the season, actually. There's only, I think, 4 days left, so let's see if he can get it right here. As we begin the match now, of course, HooHaa is going to open up the game. And, of course, he can't really do anything his turn 1. Let's see if GWI can. He'll use a Metal Bravery, actually, to coin out the Unholy Altar. Interesting choice there. Gives him some board presence. HooHaa responds with pushing some Hassan City guards down his face. Actually, only one, as the other one sort of remains back. I think as a placement for Unholy Altar. But GWI summons his own Hassan City guard. And of course that zombie moving up as well. HooHaa is going to blue firebolt that Unholy Altar, doesn't want to deal with it. And unfortunately, well, I don't think unfortunately, but doesn't move his guard, I think, still as a placement for the Unholy Altar. Of course, zombie moving up, Hassan City guard taking a chop out of the castle. And HooHaa responds with a flux, which will, of course, hit the Hassan City guard for some spells. What kind of spells? Dwarven Construction and Winds of the North. I don't think those were the best spell pulls, but of course, that's all sort of relevant to opinion. As HooHaa gets his flux blue fire bolted, excuse me, I'm trying to think of the words here, by GWI, and of course HooHaa takes the opportunity to summon a shield runner and that unholy altar, excuse me, so that way he can dwarven construction it and put 4 on the altar rather than 3 as health. Of course, Headless Horseman from GWI plus Zombie will take out that shield runner without any sort of issue. HooHaa responds with a Grendel, of course. Big meaty boy coming down face. Plus moving that Hassan City Guard ever so closer. And the Zombie, of course, just doing its thing. Lightning Blade, though, from GWI. Was that trade worth it? I'm not so sure, as Headless Horseman trades with the Grendel. But, of course, Grendel's buff not going anywhere since he's got no units. HooHaa Grotesque offers his Zombie, his fresh Zombie, of course, and Grendel moves up ever so closer as he spawns a second one, hoping to hit face yet again. GWI takes this opportunity to Lich, and of course freeze the Hassan City Guard and the Zombie, of course taking the opportunity to kill off the guard now without any sort of further difficulty. And of course, HooHaa is going to Win of the North to open up GW's castle to a Grendel shot. Very interesting. Plus the Arcanon Lord of Chaos comes out, hits that Barbarian, and the life steal brings it up to 7 HP. Quite the predicament for GWI, as he takes a shot at the Grendel, plus Mordok summons a Headless Horseman, which will, of course, hit face, the buff going from Grendel to Lich to end GW's turn. Interesting. HooHaa responds with a Lumberjack, which will take out the Headless Horseman, no problem. Of course, his zombies move up, and Arcanon actually takes a shot at the castle. And the Northlands Ranger that was just drawn will be played as well, plus an additional Lumberjack. So HooHaa's advancing all sorts of things on GW's board here. Can GW make a comeback? We'll see. Armory, plus Barbarian to somewhat hold off, it appears. Actually, okay, that was some good calculated math. Following up with a Fear on the Ranger, that's going to get pushed back. And GW has partially saved himself, I think. But unfortunately, HooHaa's got those Dragon Fires. He's not using one now. I think that could very well change. But he's going to Sifting Technique on the Zombie, get some draw. And of course, there's the Dragon's Fire, which kills off both Barbarian and the Lich, forcing GW to surrender. So unfortunately, GW did not get those 3K stars. A good attempt, though, but unfortunately, HooHaa's deck was just very aggressive, and we saw multiple things being pushed down. I don't think GW was capable of blocking those Grendels, which, again, really detrimental in the end. But I wish GW the best of luck for the rest of the season. If he is currently viewing this, I'm pretty sure he can make it to 3K. I have faith in him. I bestow upon him the great divine power of... I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I think I'm just rambling on here. Been, back-to-back recording. Anyway, I think that's a great way to close out Cars.tv commentary with a spectacular match from, I think, I don't remember the name, HooHaa and GWI. I'm sorry. Oh, man, what a day. That being said, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of Cards TV commentary. If you did, please let me know by leaving a like. share this video with your friends and comment down below your thoughts on today's matches. And if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Help us grow, help support the channel, all by clicking that subscribe button with no additional cost to you. So, with that being said, guys, until next time, stay gaming.